Weeks 3 to 5. It is milk-based. Interpret the meaning suggested in visual media through a focus on visual elements, for example, line, symbols, color, gaze, framing, and social distance. The objectives of this lesson are: give the different kinds of visual media, analyze the various kinds of visual media, explain the meaning of various kinds of visual media, respond appropriately to questions about the uses of various visual media, and write a 5-sentence paragraph interpreting various media images. On What's to Look Back, you have to identify the examples of visual media mentioned by the characters. Any updates now on COVID-19? The I Love to Geek page are posting infographics, pictures, and charts on the number of cases every day. I am seeing videos on how to prevent COVID-19. Alright, what are the visual media used in these dialogues? Okay, let's see now. Infographics, pictures, charts, videos. So these are the visual media used from that dialogue. Next, dialogues. That's great. There's a map of confirmed cases in NCR from the case tracker of the DOH. It is in television too. Radio and cell phones are good source of info too. Posters are also posted in social media. But what's more interesting are the updates pictures of our frontliners. Yes, let's pray that this pandemic will soon end. What are the visual media used from these dialogues? So let us see. Maps, television, radio, cell phone, posters, and pictures. So those are the visual media used from that dialogue. And now let's go to your questions regarding the dialogues. So you are going to choose the letter of the correct answer. The number 1. Based on the dialogue, what are being posted every day by Taguig LGU Facebook page? A. Updates on COVID-19. B. Schedule of classes for school year 2021-2022. C. Orientation of parents for the incoming school year. Or D. Weather updates. What could be your answer? Okay, let's see the answer. So the answer is letter A. Updates on COVID-19. Question number 2. How does the FB page give updates to people about the COVID-19 situation? A. Through letters. B. Through the use of visual media. C. Through press conference. Or D. Through text brigade. So the correct answer is B. Through the use of visual media. Next, number 3. Which visual media is used to update the daily number of cases of COVID patients? A. Map. B. Infographics. C. Chart. D. Signage. What could be the correct answer? Alright, the correct answer is letter C. Chart. Now let's move on to question number 4. Which visual media mentioned above is an example of a non-projected visual media? A. Infographic. B. Visual presentation. C. Overhead projector. D. Film strip. The correct answer is letter A. Infographic. Now let's move on to the last question. Question number 5. The following are the various uses of visual media except 1. A. To give updates. B. To gather information. C. To serve as a learning aid in discussions. D. To prevent unclear information. The correct answer is D. to present unclear information. Moving on, let's talk about visual media. What is visual media? Visual media generally pertain to television, movies, photography, painting, print, advertisements, and other forms of media that involve the sense of sight, meaning everything that you can see around is a visual media. Another, visual media also refer to pictures, images, and graphic organizers that is used in the classroom. And that is what I'm using right now in discussing to you our lesson. Another, visuals are of different forms, and these forms are advertisements, cartoons, charts and tables, collages, comics, diagrams, dioramas, graphs, icons, magazines, maps, photos, signages, slideshows, storyboards, symbols, timelines, videos, infographics, and websites. And lastly, visual media helps readers to understand information clearly and they avoid giving wrong message to readers. So that's about visual media. Now let's move on to the two types of visual media. Number one is what we call non-projected visual media, and number two, projected visual media. When we say non-projected visual media, it requires non-projection material or electric power. When we say non-projection material or electric power, it doesn't use any electricity to show us an information. All is printed. Another thing, what are the examples of non-projected visual media? So we have letter A, informational graphics or the infographics. So what is it all about? Visual representation of information which conveys an otherwise complex source of data. This includes graphs, charts, maps, and other informative forms. Infographics are visually attractive and present research facts in ways that are very simple to understand. They contain valuable information and narrative stories in a beautiful and direct manner. According to a study, infographics are 30 times more likely to be read than pure text content. Alright, so what are the examples of informational graphics? The first one is what we call charts. Another example, we have maps. And this infographics. So this is an example of infographics. Another examples of non-projected visual media is what we call cartoons. When we say cartoons, it is a sketch or drawing, usually humorous, as in a newspaper or periodical, symbolizing, caricaturing some action, subject, or person of popular interest. This always find in editorial section of a newspaper. So let's see some examples. So here is an example of an editorial cartoons. Another example is this one. Another example of editorial cartoons. Another example of non-projected visual media is photographs. So when we say photographs, it is a picture made using a camera, in which an image is focused onto film or other light-sensitive material and then made visible and permanent by chemical treatment or stored digitally. So when we say photographs, these are pictures. Another thing, so here are the examples of captured image. And another example. Alright, so those are the examples of photographs. Now, another example of non-projected visual media is poster. When we say poster, so here are the examples of poster. Alright. Now let's go to the types of visual media, which is number 2. We call it projected visual media. When we say projected visual media, it uses bright light to pass through a transparent picture by means of a lens or electronic power. So in other words, you can see this through electricity, which is connected to the device in order for you to see it. So that is what we call projected visual media. So what are the examples of projected visual media? Letter A, we have film strip. A film strip is a series of still pictures in one roll of film. They may tell a story or they may explain the steps of an improved practice. To show film strips, you must have a film strip projector. Some projectors do not need electricity. So still, you need to connect it to a device. So that's why it's projected visual media. So here is an example of film strip. Alright, now let's go to another example of media. So we have the overhead projector. So when we say overhead projector, it is a device that projects an enlarged image of a transparency placed on it onto a wall or screen. This is what we used before the LED projector. So this is the image of an overhead projector here. This one, an example of overhead projector. Okay, now let's move on. Another example of projected visual media is visual presentation. When we say visual presentation, it refers to the expression of ideas about some matters while using visual aids such as visual multimedia from electronic media such as television screens and web pages to environmental contexts such as retail displays and road signs. Visual communication is virtually anywhere. So when we say visual presentation, is like what I am doing now, presenting my lesson. So this is also an example of visual presentation. So another example is this one. So when they are presenting a report, they used PowerPoints to show the improvements of their company or business. Another example is this one, a teacher and a learner. So they use also a visual presentation. Okay. Now that we've done on the different types of visual media and their examples, so let us now identify the images, if projected or non-projected visual media. So you have to answer projected or non-projected. First picture Is it projected or non-projected? Okay, the correct answer is non-projected because that is an example of poster. Picture number 2. Projected or non-projected? Alright, the correct answer is non-projected because that is what we call infographics. Another picture. Projected or non-projected? Alright, the correct answer is projected because that is what we call visual presentation. Another picture. Projected or non-projected? Alright, the correct answer is projected also because the teacher there is using an overhead projector. Another. Projected or non-projected? Alright, the correct answer is non-projected because the picture is cartoons or editorial cartoons. Next picture is this one. Projected or non-projected? Okay, the correct answer is projected because that is a film strip. Alright, so much for that. We're done now on our lesson. So, what did I get now in this lesson? Okay, so here are the summary of what I discussed to you today. So visual media again, it is generally pertain to television, movies, photography, painting, print, advertisements, and other forms of media that involve the sense of sight. It is often used as learning aids such as in presentations and discussions. Visual media also refer to a picture, images, and graphic organizers that is used in the classroom. And visual also have different forms like advertisement, cartoons, charts and tables, collages, comics, diagrams, dioramas, graphs, icons, magazines, maps, photos, signages, slideshows, storyboards, symbols, timelines, videos, infographics, and websites. What are the two types of visual media? Number 1, we have non-projected visual media. And the examples are informational graphics or infographics, cartoons or editorial cartoons, photographs, and poster. And another types of visual media, we call it projected visual media. And the examples are film strip, overhead projector, visual presentation, or PowerPoint presentation.